It's Mrs. Butler here again. Welcome back. Haven't been on YouTube for a while. Today I'm going to show you how to make your very own Christmas wreath. Now, I put together a number of packs for some teachers at a local school, and I'm going to use these packs to show you how to make a wreath. The pack contains a bracken covered ring. I've used bracken because I was transporting these rings and it makes it easier to transport. People usually use moss, they can use birch twigs, anything to cover the ring. So that's the first thing. Now what I've done is I have got 3 stages that you need to do your wreath. I've got in the first bag is all the evergreen that you need to cover your ring with. So bits of bay, some yew, some lovely fir. That's going to be the first part. In the second bag, I've got all the fun bits. So it's all the variegated holly and lots of different coloured leaves. This is going to give your wreath a really wow factor. In the third bag, this is the fun bag. It's all the bits that you need to attach. This is the last bag. So there's pine cones, there's bits of wire, there's the florist green wire, there's some lovely oranges, some cinnamon, and that is your stage 3 where you make your pretty wreath. So by the time you've attached everything, you should have a wreath that looks like this. Right, before you get started, there are some tools you need. You'll need a pair of scissors, some secateurs, some wire cutters, and some gardening gloves. Now I use one hand because I'm not very good at using gloves, but that's entirely a personal choice. Hi, to start you'll need to have your evergreen bag, your bracken wreath and some wire. Before you start, it's always best to attach the wire. So thread it through, take it like that, twist it, and tuck the sharp end behind. Okay, I use about 6 foot of wire. I don't know how much that is in new money, but
about 2 meters.
About 2 meters. Thank you, cameraman, my lovely son Ben. And attach it so that you know where the end of the wire is. Then you simply take some of your evergreen. I'm using yew to start. You lay it on your wreath. You take your piece of wire and you wind it through to secure it like that. Now, just 1 or 2 loops round is enough to hold it in place. Okay? Take another bunch, keep it together like that. Sorry, there's the dogs. There's and then you just simply lay it next to, but covering the stalks of the first bunch, okay? So like that. Then you take your wire and wind it exactly the same round. Now, when you do this, try and keep working in the same direction. I'm going anti-clockwise around the ring, so by the time you get back to the beginning, you'll be able to tuck the stalks under that side. Okay. So posy, select your various leaves and tie on. So keep going all the way around your wreath. Okay, do you want So once you've got to the end of your first length of wire, you might have to attach another wire. Okay, so you keep your short end in your left hand and the new wire that you're attaching in the right. Take the right over, twist it, so you end up with something like that. Okay, then take the two ends, right, twist it underneath, thread it through. It's just like joining two pieces of string if you were sewing or if you were actually joining ropes. It's exactly the same, so it should end up looking like that. Okay, and then you just keep winding like you have been. So wind it round, take your posies, like so, and keep going. Okay, do you want to fast forward it? Okay, so as you can see, I'm getting quite close to the end. So for the final posy that you put together, you'll lift where you started from and you'll tuck the final part underneath so that all of the stalks are now hidden. And then you can bring your wire around and through again, like so. Now, you'll see that there's a bit of wire left. Just keep winding it round and that will help secure your greenery in. Okay, so once you get to a tiny bit of wire left, like so, turn the wreath round, and then just thread it in behind the wires here, like so, and then you can just tuck it in so it's not sticking out and there's no sharp bits. Okay, so you'll end up like that with your greenery. Okay, so you've ended up with your nice green. That's basically the artist canvas that you're going to work on. And you take your second bag, which is full of all your variegated and pretty stuff. And this is where you make the magic happen. Okay, so I had really good fun foraging for this. As you can see, there's lots of lovely ivy. There's some bay, some more variegated holly, some really prickly holly. And so this is where you make your wreath look really pretty. Now, I'm just going to move it around. So you take your wires again, make sure that you attach it before you start, because otherwise it just makes it a bit tricky. And you attach this exactly the same way as you did your greenery. So bring it round like so. Can you see? Bring it round and then twist and tuck the ends in so that you don't have any sharp bits sticking out. There you go. Now you can work out a pattern by positioning the coloured bits where you would like them, or you could do what I do and go quite random. So exactly the same way, take your pieces, make a bunch or a posy so that it looks quite pretty. I'm going to use some of this in there as well to give it a little bit of a texture. And then always working in the same direction, you can attach. So I went anti-clockwise, so I'm going to go anti-clockwise again. So you take your wires, you put your variegated or your pretty bits. Now you can go into your gardens and make it very personal. So you can choose some of your favorite flowers and plants and add it to this bit here. Okay, so wind, take your posies up, lay them on, making sure that you cover the stalks of the first posy, and keep going. And do this until you've got your wreath covered. Now this is where you can have some fun. You don't have to add it all the way around. You could just have it at the bottom so that you've got a pattern at the bottom, or you could go all the way around. Okay, you can Okay, so just to remind you to, if you've run out of length in your wire, to reattach. So take the right hand piece, take it under the left hand side of the wire, bring it up so it looks like that. Take the right hand over, tuck it underneath. Okay, like that. And then pull it together. So you've got a really good little knot like that. Okay, that will stop it from slipping. Now I'm very close to finishing, so just like on the evergreen bits, your last one, take your posy, and tuck the bits under and wind it through. Now I've got quite a lot of excess wire. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wind it round the whole wreath just to make sure that it is all tied in tight. So just keep going round, and this will hold your foliage in place. And as you can see, the wire is thin. It doesn't actually affect the integrity of the foliage, so it still looks nice and full and pretty. But working with thin wire, it does tend to get tangled. So don't be afraid to pull it tight. This is where, and I should have warned you, working with the variegated holly, it is very prickly, so if your hands are not as tough as mine, I strongly suggest when you're tying in this holly to wear your gloves. Okay, and you keep going. As you can see, it's got a really nice thick wreath. It's got lots of colour, got lots of berries on it. And there you go. If you've got wire that's trapping leaves, just pull the leaves through and hopefully put the wire underneath like that, and then just pull it tight. Okay, once you get to the end of your wire, take it, tuck it back in the back, can either thread it through another piece of wire like so. I can't get it in now. Thread it through and tuck it in so that you don't have any spiky bits of wire sticking out the back, like so. You could also just wind it round, so tuck it in. So, oops, it's just stuck out again. I use it. And tuck it in so it's neat. There you go. So that is your wreath. And now here comes the fun bit where you attach all the pretty bits. Okay, so once you've attached all of your variegated holly and your various coloured bits and pieces, your wreath should look like this. Here comes the fun part. Now, in the pack, you'll find that you've got ribbon, you've got pine cones, but lovely, lovely bits of cinnamon. Smells amazing. Do you want to smell, Billy? It's not something you could eat, but you can have a go. Down you get, Bells, please. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. So when you're attaching pine cones, you take your wires, which are also in the pack. You fold them in half like so, so that you can get the middle. You take your pine cone. It looks like a bobby pin. Spread it over like so. Bring it through and twist. That will give you something like that. Now, when you're attaching your pine cones, I find it easier to wire them to the bits of foliage. So you take your pine cone, you take your bits of foliage, and you wire your ends through like that. And you twist. And then you can position your pine cones so that they're sticking out. And what I normally do, and I think it's a general rule of thumb, is that everything in nature works on odd numbers. So what I would do is I'm going to use 5 pine cones, and I'm going to just attach them around the wreath. So just find your piece of foliage, stick your wires through and attach. Making sure that you tuck the spiky bits of wire in and underneath so that they don't hurt anybody. And you keep going until you've got 5 pine cones attached to your wreath. So that's 2. So find the middle, wire it round and attach like so, Benny. So space them out so you got them evenly onto your wreath. Twist your wires round. And position your pine cones so you can see them. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then last one, oh, this is a teeny one. Number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll put you over here because you're so little. 5. It's a really frosty morning, and my fingers seem to be very cold, so twisting the wire is a little bit tricky. So there you go, 5 attached. The next thing is take your oranges and your cinnamon, okay? And you can attach the pine and the cinnamon exactly the same way. Find the middle of your wire, like so. Put it over the middle part of your cinnamon. Now, it tends to slip off your cinnamon, so what I'll do is I'll take it over again, so you've got a double loop. Then twist. Okay, so it's like that. Okay. Then you take your orange and you see that there's a middle bit. Push your wires either side of that middle bit, because that's where the segment seems to be the strongest, and that's where it seems to hold. Take the shorter bit and then twist it round like that, so you've got them attached. Can you see that? And it just gives it a pretty festive look. And then pop it onto your wreath, attach it exactly the same way. So take a little bit of foliage, take the wires round and twist it in. And keep going until you've got 5 of those attached. Okay, do you want to time that? Is you take your ribbon, you find the middle, sort of there, hold it, bring it up so you've got a little bit of a tail, because that's going to be the bottom. So you've got one loop, you've got another loop. Try and make that loop slightly bigger, because that's the loop that you're going to tie the knot. Bring the right hand loop over the left hand and then through the hole, so you're actually pulling it tight like that. And then you can pull it into your bow shape. Now this is wired, so you can actually shape your bows quite nicely, so turning them out so that the patterns are showing. Don't be afraid to pull it and yank it until you've actually got a bow that you're happy with. Straighten it all out, like so. And then you'll see that in the pack you've got a slightly different type of wire. It's covered in a plastic and it's got a rounded bit on it. I use this to insert through the knot. The reason I use the plastic coated one is not very environmentally friendly, but it prevents the ribbon from tearing. So just like the other one, find the middle, and then it's a bit tricky, just bend it really hard so you've got your shape, and then you stick it over the string and through the wreath until it comes out the other side, and then you bend it over like that. And voila! You have got yourself a very beautiful bespoke wreath.